This is the first half of a short movement for solo flute or oboe. It is written in what the composer calls verse form, a series of melodic lines, like the lines of a poem, that create a musical rhyme scheme by ending in a similar way. Here, we have two pairs of lines, each marked by a double bar line in the form A-B-A-B. Rhythmically, lines 1 and 3 are similar, while lines 2 and 4 are identical. The cadential conclusion to all 4 lines is a leap of 11 semitones. That's the musical rhyme. First line in low register ends with a leap of 11 semitones. Second line ascends, but decelerates rhythmically, ends with a leap of 11 semitones. Third line starts like the first, ends with a leap of 11. Fourth line is rhythmically identical to the second. It ascends but decelerates and ends with a leap of 11. Let's take the first 3 notes, D, E, E flat, as a basic motive, describing intervals +2, -1. It occupies a small cluster of semitones, D, E flat, E. It opens a space, then fills it in. It converges on its central tone, E flat, on which it is inversionally symmetrical. All of these qualities resonate throughout the melody in various ways. The motive, taken as a series of 3 notes, can appear in 4 different orderings. We'll call them P, I, R, and RI. P goes up 2 and down 1. Its inversion, I, does just the opposite, down 2 and up 1. The retrograde, R, also has a 1 and a 2 in opposite directions, up 1 and down 2. The retrograde inversion, RI, does just the opposite, down 1 and up 2. These are the 4 possible combinations of 1 and 2 moving in opposite directions. Three of the 4 orderings can be heard within the first 5 notes of the melody. The first 3 notes describe P. The notes on the downbeats of the 3 measures form R. And the lowest 3 notes outline I. There are many other statements of the motive in the melody, sometimes isolated and sometimes overlapping, sometimes involving 3 contiguous notes and sometimes slightly extended. Because the motive involves small intervals, 1 and 2, moving in opposite directions, it usually conveys the sense of creeping around within a small space, with every move in one direction immediately followed by a slightly smaller or larger move in the other direction. Sometimes we get a sense of the melody creeping slowly in some direction, usually upward. This occurs particularly when this motive or closely related motives are bound together into RI chains. The final chain connects the end of this section of the piece with the beginning of the next one. If we think of the motive as an unordered collection rather than an ordered series, we find that the collections are connected via transposition by the same intervals, 1 and 2, that comprise the motive itself. Transposing a set by an interval it contains produces common tones, and these add to the sense of a melody that moves slowly and haltingly through space amid constant references back to where it has just been. The same is true of the recurring leaps of 11 semitones. They can be thought of as motific, an expanded representation of interval 1, and they are connected motifically via intervals 1 and 2. For example, the first two 11s involve motion up a semitone. After an 11 in a different register, at the end of the second line, the next 11 is 2 semitones lower. So these three 11s are projected along a familiar motific path, +1, -2. These big leaps punctuate a melody that otherwise does either of two things: remains roughly in place, doubling back on itself, or moves decidedly upward, opening up new registral space. In all of this melodic movement, there is an interest in filling musical space. Melodic gaps are soon or eventually filled until virtually every pitch from the lowest to the highest has been heard. This chart divides the passage into 8 sections, 2 per line of the musical poem. Pitches ascend by semitone from middle C at the bottom of the chart. For each section, the only pitches given are those actually in use. Following these pitches, we can see the melody create gaps and fill them in as it gradually rises. The passage as a whole thus does on a large scale what the main motive does in only 3 notes: open a space and fill it in.